My name is Steve Colarelli. I am an organizational psychologist with a deep interest in evolutionary psychology, and I work at Central Michigan University, and I'm currently at the National University of Singapore. Interesting story. I was trained as an industrial and organizational psychologist, and one of the things I noticed was that when you go into a work organization, that people did not do what the IO textbooks suggested they do. For example, when I was a graduate student, it was the gospel that the employment interview, was not effective in predicting performance. Letters of recommendation the research showed that they were not effective as far as predicting how well someone would do. Yet they're the most widely used selection devices, the interview and letter of recommendation. So I got to thinking, why would they be using them? There must be some other reason. So I read Donald Campbell's 1975 article and on basically applying ideas from evolution to psychology. And the basic idea there was that social practices that exist over wide areas and that have continued over history probably have some function. And a biologist would look at it that way. They would look at some phenomenon and say, what could the function be? Whereas psychologists, we tended not to do that. We would say, well, it doesn't conform to our theory, it must be stupid. And so that's basically how I came around to starting to look at what goes on in a business environment through an evolutionary lens. After I read the Campbell article, I read Boyd and Richardson, and then on and on and on.
So what are some of the insights that you talked about in your talk today?
I think that one of the key insights from evolutionary psychology is this notion of mismatch. That is, our psychology and our physiology are still primarily designed for the Pleistocene era, but we're in an environment that's not Pleistocene. So we have preferences for greenery, we need sunlight for vitamin D, yet if you look at the modern office, there's virtually no greenery. It's very difficult to get sunlight. Vitamin D deficiency is a huge problem, and that's because the business offices are mismatched to our evolved design. Okay, when you talk about dogs in the workplace, people think that's like cute. But again, if you think about it, it was the first domesticated animal, the only animal that we know of that follows human eye gaze. There are millions of dogs as pets, and dogs have a social lubricating function. And I think that there's a number of functions that dogs do have. But when you have an animal in the office, I think it does increase prosociality. It will make people more comfortable. On an individual level, they lower their blood pressure if they pet the dog, and so on and so forth. And again, if you're going back to the mismatch, people evolved around animals, for 1 million years or more. People were all either, we didn't start domesticating animals until maybe 10,000 years ago, but hunter-gatherers were always tuned in to animals. And what's remarkable about our modern workplace is that there are no children, there are no animals, no greenery, no sunlight. I think that's a very unhealthy situation.